I used to think honesty was the foundation. That if we told each other the truth, no matter how hard, it would hold us together. And when she looked me in the eye and said she wanted something open, I told myself this was just another test of trust. But what I didn't know then was that her truth had already started without me. And mine would end with a lock, a silence, and a message from the last person I ever expected. I always thought of myself as a grounded guy. 36, decent career in software engineering, never the loudest in the room but solid. I liked coming home to quiet. To routine. To Emily. We'd been together almost 4 years, lived together for 2, and it just felt right. We had our little rituals, pizza on Fridays, hikes on Sundays, and that kind of comfortable silence that comes only when you really know someone. Our apartment wasn't much, but it was ours. 1 bedroom, small balcony, a mess of succulents she pretended not to care about but always watered at the same time every week. Max, our rescue mutt, had claimed the end of the couch as his throne. And honestly, I thought we were happy. We weren't chasing some fantasy life. Just, building something slow and real. She used to curl up next to me on the couch with her legs across my lap, half watching some cooking show while scrolling Pinterest for cabin rentals or backyard wedding ideas. Stuff like that. We never officially got engaged, but we were there. Talking rings, looking at venues, just to see, and she'd already told her sister to be maid of honor. It felt like inevitability, not a question. But over the last few months, something shifted. At first, it was small. She started saying she was tired more often, pulling away a bit when we'd sit close. Then came the cancelled plans. The nights where she'd stay out late with the girls, and wouldn't come to bed until I was already asleep. Her phone. Practically glued to her hand. Screen always tilted away. And when I'd ask about her day, her answers got thinner, like she was rationing them. Still, I didn't push. I told myself it was a phase. Everyone hits weird spots. Maybe work stress. Maybe she needed space. And I trusted her. God, that's the part that still sticks in my throat, I really did. Then came the night. We were sitting on the couch, me, her, Max asleep at our feet. She had a glass of wine in her hand, something white and citrusy she'd picked up on a whim. I remember that detail, because I was just about to ask her if she liked it when she set the glass down, leaned back against the arm of the couch, and without looking up, just said it. So. I've been thinking, she started, kind of smiling. Not nervous. Not apologetic. Just casual, like she was telling me we were out of coffee filters. I kind of want to try an open relationship. She let it hang there. No explanation at first. Just that sentence. Then, after a beat, she laughed. A little laugh, too loud for the room. I mean, I don't want to lie to you. This is just where I'm at right now. That's how she framed it. Not a conversation. Not a request. A disclosure. Something she'd already decided, now being offered to me like a favor. Like honesty was the whole package, and I should be proud of her for being so upfront. I didn't react. Or at least, not on the outside. I gave her a small nod. Tried to keep my face neutral. I even smiled. I'll think about it, I said. And she nodded back, relieved, like that settled it. Like I was going to go off and write a pro/con list or talk it through with my therapist. But inside? Inside I felt something twist, something subtle but permanent. Like a switch flipped. Like I'd just walked into a room and realized the furniture had been rearranged and nothing was where I thought it was. She went back to her wine. I went back to pretending I was watching the show. And neither of us mentioned it again that night. But the truth is, I had already started thinking about it. And not in the way she meant. After she said it, nothing happened right away. That was the part that messed with me the most. There was no blow-up. No tearful breakdown or dramatic exit. Just, normal. At least, that's what she acted like. She got up the next morning, took Max out, made coffee. She even kissed me on the cheek before heading to work like she always did. Like she hadn't casually dropped a bomb into the middle of our lives and then walked away from the smoke. I stood in the kitchen, holding my mug, wondering if I'd imagined the whole thing. But no, I hadn't. I could still hear her voice in my head, light and almost playful. I don't want to lie to you, just where I'm at. I didn't say anything. Not that day. Not the day after. I think I was waiting for her to bring it up again. To check in. To ask how I felt. But she never did. She just moved like it had already been settled. The nights got quieter. Colder. She started staying out later. Said she was reconnecting with old friends. Networking. Taking time for herself. One night, I heard the shower running long after midnight. She came out in an oversized t-shirt, her hair still wet, mascara smudged faintly under one eye. She barely looked at me as she climbed into bed. Just mumbled something about being tired and turned away. I watched her breathing. Max was curled up near my feet, oblivious. I stared at the ceiling, trying to make sense of the ache in my chest. It wasn't jealousy. Not exactly. It was more like absence. Like I was sitting in the shell of something that used to be whole. And now I was waiting for it to collapse. A few days later, I asked, not accusingly, just gently, if she was seeing someone. Her face tightened. She looked at me like I'd said something rude at dinner. I told you I wanted honesty, she said. Her voice was flat, but her eyes were sharp. I'm just trying not to betray myself. That line. I've replayed it 1,000 times. Not betray herself. As if staying loyal to me would have been the real crime. After that, I stopped asking questions. I didn't want to give her another chance to make me feel like the one who was wrong for not being enlightened enough. For still believing in the us we used to be. But I started moving. Quietly. Intentionally. I opened a new checking account in my name only. Moved my direct deposit. Cancelled the streaming subscriptions we shared, Netflix, Spotify, even the calendar app we used to plan vacations. I pulled out of our shared meal planning board. Took down the post-its on the fridge that tracked what we needed from the store. I didn't say anything. Not one word. She thought I was adjusting. Healing, maybe. She'd smile when she left the house, acting like we were evolving. Like we were mature enough to rise above jealousy and possessiveness. She didn't notice how far I was drifting. Or maybe she did, and just didn't care anymore. I stopped reaching for her in bed. I let her phone buzz through the night without turning my head. I started spending weekends in coffee shops, reading through lease laws, figuring out how to untangle our lives without it turning into a mess. The worst part? She started dressing different. More careful. More deliberate. Like she was going on dates. But she never told me. She didn't have to. I could see it in the way she moved through the apartment. Lighter. Less attached. Like she was already living somewhere else in her mind. Then came the moment that turned planning into reality. Friday evening. She walked into the living room with a duffel bag slung over one shoulder, keys in hand. She gave me a quick smile, like we were old roommates passing in a hallway. I'm heading out for the weekend, she said. Gonna stay with someone. Someone. Not a name. Not a friend. Just someone. I looked up from the laptop, nodded once, and said, okay. She hesitated for half a second, maybe expecting something. A reaction. A plea. But I gave her nothing. She walked out the door, her perfume trailing behind her like a ghost. I sat there, listening to Max sniff around the door she'd just closed. My hands were cold, but my face was burning. She thought I was adjusting. She had no idea I was preparing to leave her behind. After that weekend, something inside me switched for good. I started playing a part, calm, supportive, open-minded partner. I even asked how her weekend away had been, like I was genuinely curious, like I wasn't already pulling up U-Haul quotes on my phone every time she wasn't looking. She smiled, casual as ever. Said it was nice. Said they were just exploring, that there was no pressure, no expectations, just connection. Her words always sounded prepackaged. She'd rehearsed them, I could tell. Probably in the mirror. Or worse, to him. I nodded like I understood. And I did, just not in the way she thought. I started deleting photos. Not all at once, just a few each day. The trip to Sedona. The ugly little couch we both hated but joked about keeping forever. Her birthday dinner from last year, where I cooked and she cried, good tears, back when they meant something. Gone. I found a storage unit 20 minutes outside the city. Nothing fancy. Just a clean, quiet space with a rolling door and enough room for the life I was packing away. I started boxing things up little by little, books, off-season clothes, framed prints I'd bought for our style. I didn't want a fight. I didn't want drama. I just wanted distance. And I was going to take it. The more I pulled back, the more she mistook it for growth. She told me she was proud of me. Said it seemed like I was really opening up emotionally, which almost made me laugh. Because by then, I wasn't opening, I was locking up everything that used to be ours and making sure I had the only key. One night, I caught a glimpse of her phone screen while she was texting. I didn't mean to. I was walking past her on the couch, and there it was. His name. Or maybe just initials, I couldn't tell. But the messages weren't new. The scroll bar was far down. Deep thread. Old history. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't a new idea she was exploring. This was cleanup. This was retroactive honesty meant to sanitize a lie. He'd been in the picture long before the wine glass and her little smirk on the couch. I wasn't being invited into something new, I was being asked to co-sign something that had already happened. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake with Max curled up at my side, staring at the ceiling fan, feeling like the walls were closing in. I thought about all the things I didn't see. Or maybe just didn't want to see. Her sudden interest in self-discovery. Her solo trips to the wine shop. The nights she said she needed space and came home smelling like someone else's cologne. I started preparing the break more aggressively. Made a checklist. Called my older brother for legal advice on the lease. Researched the cleanest way to exit without triggering some drawn-out dispute. My name was on everything. Utilities. The dog's paperwork. Even her health insurance. She noticed I was quiet, but she didn't press. Maybe she didn't want to know. Or maybe she thought we were in some kind of emotional recovery period. That we were both learning to live on higher ground. She'd bring up her open connection from time to time, as if we were bonding over it. Said things like, it's weird, but I actually feel closer to you now, or I'm glad we're both evolving. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I nodded. Smiled. Played along. I started taking Max to dog parks farther from home. Not our usual neighborhood spot, someplace unfamiliar, quieter. I needed space to think. And more than that, I didn't want to run into anyone who might know us. I didn't want to explain what I was doing or why I looked like I hadn't slept in weeks. Every time she left the apartment, I watched the door longer than I should have. Not out of longing. Out of calculation. I needed to be sure of her patterns, her routines. I wasn't just mourning the relationship anymore. I was dismantling it. And then it came, another Friday. Another night out. She put on perfume I hadn't smelled in months. Wore that dress she used to save for special occasions. She looked good. And I hated that I still noticed. She kissed Max on the head and said, "Don't wait up." I didn't. 10 minutes after she left, I pulled out the new lock set I'd bought that week and got to work. I'd watched enough videos to know how to do it quickly. Carefully. No anger. No theatrics. Just closure. I swapped out the lock, tested the new key 3 times, and stood in the center of the apartment while Max watched me, head tilted in quiet confusion. She thought I was healing. She thought I was growing. She thought I was still hers. But I wasn't. Not anymore. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was sad. Not even because I was anxious. But because for the first time in months, I felt, still. Like I'd finally stopped treading water in someone else's storm. I lay there in the dark, Max breathing slow beside me, the apartment completely silent except for the occasional creak of the old pipes. I thought about everything I wanted to say to her. All the lines I'd rehearsed and reworded. I imagined long monologues, calm explanations, even tearful farewells. But by the time the sun came up, I realized none of it mattered. The words weren't going to change anything. The silence had already done the talking. By noon, I'd packed up everything that was hers. Not in anger. Not in a rush. I folded her clothes the way she liked them. Paired her shoes, zipped her makeup bags. Even remembered to wrap that delicate little necklace she wore on our 3rd anniversary. I didn't throw a single thing out. I just moved her out of my life piece by piece, like removing glass from a wound. I loaded it all into my car, drove it to the storage unit, and slid the door shut without ceremony. On the way back, I bought myself a sandwich and sat in the park with Max like it was any other day. Like I hadn't just dismantled a life. I felt tired, but not broken. Not anymore. By the time she came home that evening, the sun was already setting. I heard her walk up the stairs, keys jangling. Then the soft thud of her bag as she reached for the door. The lock caught. She tried again. Harder. Then I heard the knock. Then the banging. Then her voice. "Are you serious? Open the door. What the hell, are you joking?" I waited. Not because I was unsure, but because I wanted the silence to stretch. Let it register. Then my phone rang. I answered on the 2nd ring. Put it on speaker. Let her voice echo through the quiet room. "What the hell is going on?" she shouted. "Did you change the locks?" "I did," I said, calm as I've ever been. "Your stuff's in storage. I'll text you the address." There was a beat of silence. Then a sob. "Wait, what is this? You're kicking me out. I thought we were working through this." I almost laughed. "You wanted freedom," I said. "You got it." She was crying now. Not the manipulative kind, this was raw. Shaky breaths. The panic of someone who just realized the other shoe had already dropped. "I didn't want this," she said. I just wanted to be honest." I didn't respond. "I didn't think you'd actually," she broke off. I heard the phone shuffle in her hand, then just soft, broken sounds. The kind people make when they're not sure whether to scream or beg. And then I did something I hadn't done in months. I let go. I hung up. Not to be cruel. Not to win. But because there was nothing left to say that would have made her understand. I sat there for a long time after that. Didn't move. Didn't speak. Max nudged his head against my knee like he could feel the air shift. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't triumph. It was just, done. And for a moment, I thought that might be the last time I ever heard her voice. But one more voice was still coming. 3 weeks passed. No word from her. Not even to ask if Max was okay, or if I'd seen her blue coat, or to rage at me for cutting her off without warning. The silence was brutal, but not unfamiliar. It was just a deeper version of the same quiet she'd been giving me for months. Just now, I was finally the one choosing it. I thought that would be the end of it. I really did. That we'd go our separate ways and dissolve like two names fading off a shared mailbox. And then I got the email. Subject line, no need to respond. I remember staring at it for a while before opening it. Her last name was still in the contact, Nancy, Emily's mom, from the time she'd helped us coordinate a surprise party 2 years ago. I almost deleted it without reading. But something in me, curiosity, grief, maybe both, clicked it open. It wasn't long. I just wanted to say thank you. For loving her. For trying. You were good to her. I think she knew that, even if she didn't act like it. I'm sorry for how things turned out. That was it. No details. No explanation. Just a note that landed like a stone in the center of my chest. I read it twice. Not because I needed clarity. But because it was the one thing Emily never said. Thank you. I'd carried so much weight for her. Covered for her when she forgot birthdays, backed her when her family didn't understand her job changes, defended her moods to friends. I'd given her every ounce of my quiet loyalty. And in return, I got a half smile, a cruel kind of honesty, and a locked door that felt like it belonged to me, not her. And now here was her mother, someone who didn't owe me a single word, offering the closest thing to closure I'd probably ever get. It didn't make me feel better. If anything, it made it worse. Because somewhere in all of this, I kept waiting for Emily to understand me. To see what she had. To realize that quiet doesn't mean weak. That loyalty isn't lack of imagination. That some people love by staying, and staying, and staying, even when it starts to hurt. But she never said thank you. She never saw me. Her mother did. And somehow, that made it worse.